Հայր որ երկինս ես սուրբ եղիսյան քո, եղեսե արքայություն քո, եղիցին գամ քո, որպես երկինս եւ երկրի, ըսած մեր հանավազոր, դուր մեզ այսօր, եւ թող մեզ զբաղիս մեր, որպես եւ մեկ թող մերոց վարտաբանած, եւ մի տանիրս մեզի փորձություն, այլ կրգյազ մեզի չարեն, զիքոյ արքայություն եւ զորություն եւ փառք հավիտյանս Արմենիանից ամեն։
Եվ սխաղության զդերաչեսու գնգալ գեցոյև օրմյա
օրնություն եւ փառք հոր եւ որդու եւ օգնի սրբո այժմ եւ միշեւ հավիտյանս հավիտենից ամեն
Քրիստոս Աստված առահանքից եւ ողորմություն եւ մեզ մեղավորած շնորհի աստողություն անցած
And now, I would like to invite the AGBU and Homenetmen Scouts to start the flag ceremony.
Homenetmeni Արեմդյան Միացյալ Նահանգներու շրջանի եւ Homenetmeni սկաուտներ դրոշակի արարողության համար պատրաստ խումբ քայլարած on Սկալպներ, թրոշակի արարողության համար, թե թրոշա բադվի ար
Now I would like to invite Mr. Soran Hazarian to perform the national anthem of United States of America and Republic of Armenia.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watch, we're so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Hayreni azadanga vorabrele tarekar yurvartika arkançume azadanga hayastan yurvartika arkançume azadanga hayastan. Amen ein der Mamiye Mart mi ankam bitmeli Hayt yerani vor yuraski Azadut yangızovi Hayt yerani vor yuraski Azadut yangızovi.
Սկալպներ, բան, ռաստ, թրոշակագիր, աչ, թարց, քայլարաչ, on. Խումբ, հետ, թարց, քայլարաչ, on.
Please be seated. Շնորհակալ ենք Հոմենեթմենի և հայկական բարեգործական ընդհանուր միության սկաուտներին, նույնպես պարոն Հազարյանեն, և այժմ կուզեմ սիրով բեմ հրավիրել Միացյալ Մարմինի վարչական անդամ, որ այսօր կհանդիսավարի երեկոն։ Now, I would like to invite the master of ceremony for today, the board member for the United Armenian Council, our own Peter Piper. Peter.
Սիրելիներ, նկատի ունենալով, որ մեր մեջ կգտնվին նաև ոչ հայ քաղաքական անձնավորություններ, պիտի ներեք, որ մեր այսօրվա հանդեսը պիտի ներկայացվի անգլերեն լեզվով։ In the name of those who have survived the Armenian Genocide and are fighting for the acceptance of the truth, in the name of those demanding human rights, in the name of those shouting about crimes committed against humanity and are asking for justice, I greet you all. Your Eminences, Consul General, Honorable Mayors, elected officials, distinguished guests, and ladies and gentlemen. Today we commemorate the first genocide of the 20th century. We're also here to protest against those who still deny the Armenian Genocide. A genocide that 99 years ago wiped out 1.5 of the 2 million Armenian population at that time. However, I'm happy today that there are again millions of Armenians all over the world making great contribution in all aspects of humanity, from professionals to religious leaders to politicians. We are still here. We are here, and we are proud that there is an independent country of Armenia, and are happy that over 20 countries on almost all continents formally recognize the Armenian Genocide. Countries including but not limited to Belgium, Canada, France, Russia, Lebanon, Germany, Greece, Italy, and Switzerland. Hopefully soon, we will add to this list the United States of America, the United Kingdom, and Turkey. Yes, I said Turkey. It's a matter of time, ladies and gentlemen. Note that even though the US has not officially recognized the Armenian Genocide yet, we have to acknowledge that 43 out of the 50 states have independently recognized the Armenian Genocide. Thanks to our diligent fellow Americans, who in spite of all the challenges, they fight for the truth and justice. The Eli Wiesel Foundation for Humanity has written a letter signed by 53 Nobel laureates, reaffirming the genocide scholars' conclusion that the 1915 killings of all the Armenians does constitute a genocide. The Anti-Defamation League also has declared that the killings of the Armenians was a genocide. We call on current and future presidents all over the world to look for the truth and what is right, acknowledge and act about the Armenian Genocide as a crime against humanity. If President Ronald Reagan many years ago had the simple courage to acknowledge the Armenian Genocide, so can everyone. We need to change the current American government's perception of the Armenian Genocide by joining the overwhelming majority of historians and the academic institutions on Holocaust and genocide studies, as well as the International Association of Genocide Scholars, who have recognized the massacres of the Armenians as genocide. In addition to our international support, at government and personal levels, we have many Turkish human rights leaders in Turkey and elsewhere joining us in calling for the Armenian Genocide recognition and for Turkey to end its denial of truth and justice for the crime committed against humanity. We're on the right path, my brothers and sisters. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid, because the truth is on our side. And in the end, the truth shall always prevail. It is the duty of every person to learn about the bad chapters of our history in order to make sure it won't happen again. We all should have the courage to stand up for our campaign of the truth and tell the whole world to stand up with us to protect our values of humanity. Doing nothing and being silent to a genocide is aiding and abetting savagery and inhumanity. We must never give up. We must keep our relentless pursuit of making the whole world recognize and formally accept the horrific crimes, massacre, and forced deportation of the Armenians that was committed by the Ottoman Turks between 1915 and 1923. Like the Jewish Holocaust, Cambodian and Rwandan genocide, the Armenian genocide should never be forgotten. To all our brothers and sisters who believe in human rights, decency and dignity, and are fighting for justice, to all our brothers and sisters all over the world fighting for justice, including the well-respected Turkish dissidents who are pursuing a courageous mission to strengthen Turkey's respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms, we salute your courage and moral values as we salute your integrity and dedication to the truth. We thank you all and we stand with you. May God bless the souls of all the victims, and may God never relinquish the hope, wisdom, and blessings to all those fighting for peace, freedom, and justice for humanity. And now, as the first speaker and one of the champions of the Armenian cause, I'd like to invite Congressman Mr. Adam Schiff.
Thank you. It's an honor to be with you here today, to remember those who were lost in the genocide, the first genocide of the last century. Many of you may have seen that Prime Minister Erdogan spoke about what he euphemistically described yesterday as the events of 1915. And he said that yes, Armenian lives were lost, but then so too were Turkish lives. He said that Turkey welcomes a dialogue about the events of 1915, but what kind of dialogue can you have in a country where mere discussion of the genocide is a criminal act? How can you compare the loss of Turkish life during World War I to a deliberate effort to annihilate an entire people? It would be as if Germany claimed that, well, yes, German lives were lost during World War II, just as Jewish lives were. Yes, many German civilians were killed, but that is a far different issue than the fact that the Nazi Germans made an effort to exterminate an entire people and came, as in the case of the Armenians, perilously close to success. 2 weeks ago, I wrote a letter to the Turkish people. I sent it to all the major newspapers in Turkey. We sent it in English to the English language papers. We sent it in Turkish to the Turkish language papers. As you might expect, none of them would publish it. This in that pluralistic democratic society that the Prime Minister described yesterday. And who can blame them for not publishing it when the publication of such a statement would itself potentially cost the newspaper the loss of its license to print? But I'd like to share with you that letter today as I shared it on the House floor 2 weeks ago. It is an open letter to the Turkish people. Today I write to you on a topic of great importance to both our nations. It is on a subject that many of you, especially the younger generation, may know little about because it concerns a chapter of world history that your government has expended enormous efforts to conceal. Turkey has been at the center of human civilization from Neolithic times to the present, and your arts, culture, and science have enriched the world. But interwoven with all of Turkey's remarkable achievements is a dark chapter that too many of today's Turks know little or nothing about. Were you aware that your grandparents and great-grandparents had many Armenian neighbors and friends, that 20% of the population of today's Istanbul was Armenian? Did you know that the Armenians were well integrated into Turkish society as celebrated intellects, artists, craftsmen, and community leaders? Have you ever wondered what happened to the Armenians? Have you ever asked your parents and grandparents how such a large, industrious, and populous people largely vanished from your midst? Do you know why your government has gone to such lengths to conceal this part of your history? Let me tell you a part of their story. The rest you must find out for yourselves. 99 years ago this month, in the dying years of the Ottoman Empire, the young Turk government launched a campaign of deportation, expropriation, starvation, and murder against the empire's Armenian citizens. Much of the Armenian population was forcibly removed to Syria, where many succumbed during brutal forced marches through the desert heat. Hundreds of thousands were massacred by Ottoman gendarmes, soldiers, and even ordinary citizens. By the time the slaughter ended in 1923, 1.5 million Armenians have been killed in now what is universally acknowledged as the first genocide of the 20th century. The survivors scattered throughout the Middle East and the wider world, with some making their way to the United States and to Los Angeles. It is their grandchildren and great-grandchildren whom I represent as a member of U.S. Congress. Theirs is a vibrant community, many tens of thousands strong, with schools, churches, and businesses, providing a daily link to their ancestral homeland. And it is on their behalf that I urge you to begin a national conversation in Turkey about the events of 1915 through 1923. As a young man or woman in Turkey, you might ask, what has this to do with me? Am I to blame for a crime that was committed long before I was born? And I would say this: yours is the moral responsibility to acknowledge the truth and to seek a reconciliation with the Armenian people that your parents and their parents could or would not. It is an obligation that you have inherited, and one from which you must not shrink. For though we cannot choose our own history, we decide what to do about it, and you will be the ones to shape Turkey's future. At the end of World War II, Germany was a shattered nation, defeated in battle and exposed as history's greatest war criminal. But in the decades since the end of the war, Germany engaged in a prolonged effort to reconcile with the Jewish people who were nearly exterminated by the Nazis during the Holocaust. The German government has prosecuted war criminals, returned expropriated property, allied itself with Israel, and made countless apologies to victims and to the world. Most important, Germany has worked to expunge the cancer of dehumanizing bigotry and hatred that gave rise to the Holocaust. This path of reflection, reconciliation, and repentance must be Turkey's path as well. It will not be easy. The questions will be painful, the answers difficult, sometimes unknowable. One question stands out. How could a nation that peaceably ruled over a diverse multicultural empire for centuries have turned on one of its own people with such ruthlessness that an entirely new word had to be invented to describe what took place? Genocide. As in Judaism and Christianity, the concept of repentance, or tawbah, is central to Islam. Next year will mark a century since the beginning of the genocide, and Armenians around the world will mourn their dead, contemplate the enormity of their loss, and ask why, answer them, please, with words of repentance. Sincerely, Adam Schiff, Member of Congress. When we gather here next year for the 100th anniversary, I hope and pray that Turkey will answer your call with words of repentance, with acts of recognition and restitution. And I hope also that the greatest nation on earth will live up to its historic ideals as a champion of human rights, and the United States of America will recognize clearly, unequivocally, and without hesitation the Armenian Genocide. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you very much. And now I'd like to invite to the stage a friend of the Armenians, State Controller, Mr. John Chum.
Good afternoon. Pari Yegats Exere Linia. Just 1 year shy of a century ago, the world witnessed a terrible time in its history with the Armenian Genocide. Zegas Banu Yun. And still, there is violence and hatred in the world that reminds the peacemaker in all of us that we must work even harder to educate, to tolerate, and to accept. Just last month, Congressman Adam Schiff, and those words were very beautiful, Adam, and thank you for inspiring all of us and others, were quick to condemn the Al-Qaeda-related attack on the Armenian people in Syria and rally needed humanitarian efforts. I wanted to again congratulate Congressman Schiff, more importantly thank him for refusing to be silent about what's taking place in the world. The Armenian struggle is not one that we will forget in California, because with the largest Armenian population in the United States, the largest outside of the Republic of Armenia, we join those who are persecuted in their own land. We remember that between the end of World War II, World War I, and 1923, there were fewer than 400,000 Armenians, and because more than 1.5 million were killed, while others were inhumanely forced into the desert. And because of this atrocity, our Armenian community has a greater sense of purpose than many of us can only imagine. With deep reverence and respect for those who lost their lives, and to those who survived, it was this community at the heart of the fight to have the American persecution condemned as genocide here in California. We all know, and as referenced year after year, the words American genocide that the New York Times eventually used in 2004, and that Times reported 145 articles in 1915 as systemic, deliberate, and a campaign of extermination, was only coined in 1943. And yet the fight still continues in Washington, D.C., where on April 10th, the United States Senate Foreign Relations Committee adopted an American Genocide resolution, which calls upon the Senate to commemorate this crime and to encourage our president to ensure America's foreign policy reflects and reinforces the lessons of the still unpunished genocide. I said it last year, your work matters. Your work makes a difference. The United Armenian Council, my Armenian brothers and sisters, and today's commemoration helps to heal us and to move us. We cannot prevent the injustices of today and the future if we remain silent on the past. That is why I stand proudly with you again to acknowledge the Armenian Genocide out of respect for those who lost their families and those who survived. What makes California the envy of the world is our strong community bonds forged through a vibrant diversity. Your faith and determination is welcome and embraced in California. My parents were immigrants to this country from Taiwan early in the 1950s. We faced that discrimination. Today in the United States of America, there are 4 Asian Americans elected statewide. I'm the only one from the Greater China region. But your cause is my cause. Your cause is the American cause. Your cause is the world's cause. Shenor, Aga, Yuyon, Yato, Asvat, Orme, Seju.
Thank you, Mr. John. Next, I'm going to speak Armenian for him. And now I'd like to invite our young and energetic mayor of City of Los Angeles, Mr. Eric Garcetti.
Thank you so much. And very nice to be with everybody here today. I especially want to thank my friend John Chung for his great words and his continuing friendship and loyalty to the Armenian community. But I especially want to single out Adam Schiff, who literally brought tears to the eyes of me and Paul Krikorian, and so many probably. It was one of the most beautiful letters I've ever heard from his heart, and it reflects the years upon years upon years of him speaking the truth to lies, of him rising up with the goodness in our hearts to make sure and to open up that space for reconciliation. I want to thank the best congressman we could have ever on this issue, Adam Schiff. On behalf of the city, with Councilmember Paul Krikorian, I'd like Paul to stand up to be recognized as well. We want to thank the United Armenian Council for the commemoration of the Armenian Genocide, that each year, let me tell you, it's so successful, it takes about a half hour just to get the last 3 blocks right now. But I have the honor of representing as a council member Little Armenia for 12 years. A place that is significant not only because it represents that Los Angeles is the greatest Armenian city outside of Armenia. With all due respect to my friends from Beirut, Los Angeles is the most important Armenian city outside of Armenia. And it is a place in which we come together, not just for the moments of sadness and of suffering and remembrance, but also for joy and for building. And it's important as we remember the genocide that we also remember the victory, that the people who were tried to be extinguished, that they tried to get rid of, have risen up to not only survive, but to thrive. Look around, look at your neighbor to the left, to the right, in front of you and behind you. Hug a family member to see that you haven't just made it through, but you have built up a great world with the actions you have done in the faith community, in the business community, in the cultural community, here in Los Angeles, here in California, here in the United States and around the world. The Armenian people can never, ever be extinguished. But it is a sad note that we prepare in this year, and we've been preparing for a couple years, that we will come up to 1 century, 100 years. Each one of us who is here today has known somebody, touched somebody, heard from somebody who has survived. But there are children who will be born a year or 2 or 3 or 5 from now who will never know directly someone who lived through the genocide. That door is closing. That moment soon will be lost. And so it falls on our shoulders now, those who are the children and the grandchildren and the great-grandchildren and their friends of the survivors, to talk about that memory, to tell that young child growing up that we know with our own eyes and we heard with our own ears what happened. We become those who write the next chapter of history together. Those of us who have traveled and who have seen Mount Ararat, who have been at Khor Virap and have understood that this nation born with Christian values is ready to forgive. It is a central part of the Christian belief. But somebody has to ask forgiveness to be forgiven. They have to recognize in their heart what has happened before that can be given to them. You have made us a stronger city, and I'm proud to be your mayor. but you've also made us a stronger world and taught us the lesson that every new lie that is told must be answered with an old truth. And we know what happened. We also know as human beings that no human being's hands are ever clean. As Americans, we know what has happened to those who came before us in these lands. We know slaves who were brought here on ships. We know, both as victims and as perpetrators of violence, maybe not by us, but by people who came before us, that it is a recognition of being human that we recognize our weakness, that we ask God for forgiveness. We ask God to remember those whose lives were cut down, children, boys and girls, innocent civilians who were there in the wrong place at the wrong time because somebody came and used violence to snuff out the potential and the line of the life that they would have given generation after generation after generation, not just to the Armenian people, but to this world. And today, as we stand together after the loss of Kasab in Syria, we say every year we can't let this happen again, and yet it happens before us. And so we must stand together to speak truth, not just of violence, but of the loss of a city that resonates with each one of us because we know it repeats the history that had happened 99 years ago. That Armenians who have lost all of their possessions and their church and their homes, and in some cases their lives, that is happening in our modern world today in 2014, and we must do everything we can to stop it. To my Turkish brothers and sisters, the truth will set you free. The truth will set you free. The truth will set you free. And what you live under, which is the lies that are being taught, not just oppresses us, but it oppresses you. It oppresses this world and our potential to move forward to a world free of violence that embraces peace and love and the fundamental principles that all world religions embrace. That each one of us, our destiny is not taking the easy lies and repeating them, but learning the difficult truths and for the first time saying them. So we stand together, the beginning of yet another year of mourning, one that will take us to a full century. Let us make sure that the future years are ones in which we tell the stories with a smile on our face, a smile of survival, a smile of thriving, a smile that is the human story, because there are no more lies, just a recognition that a new chapter indeed has started, one that will complete the full circle and finally recognize the dead. Baykar, Baykar, minche verch. Baykar, Baykar, minche verch. Baykar, Baykar, minche verch. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to take a moment now to thank and recognize the presence of some of our non-speaking dignitaries. We have Mr. John Harabadian, the mayor of the city of Sierra Madre. Ms. Armine Garabetian, board member of Glendale Unified School District. Mr. Paul Krikorian, the first Armenian American elected to Los Angeles City Council. And Ms. Cristina Garcia, Assemblywoman representing the city of Montebello. Also with us, I'm happy to announce that we have the Armenian Cycling Association participating today with over 50 cyclists, including the former mayor of Glendale, Rafi Manugyan. Now I'd like to invite to the stage Mr. Adrian Nazarian, who's a member of the California State Assembly.
I'm very honored to be here standing before all of you and with you to make sure that our holy dead, our victims of the genocide are remembered, and that we continue telling the world and educating everyone around us that this will never happen again. not only for us, not only to eradicate what's happened to us, but to make sure that it doesn't happen anywhere else in the world. Yes. I also want to take a moment to introduce some fellow other elected officials, Councilmember Jack Hajinian and Mayor Zaria Sinanian, who are also joining here. And I would also like to, because I know they couldn't be here, Assemblymember Scott Wilk and Assemblymember Khacho Achajian and I have joined in forming the Armenian Caucus in the State Assembly. And so next year, it will be the Armenian Caucus that will be bringing forward the genocide commemoration activities in Sacramento. Thank you very much for being here and for remembering those that perished.
Thank you very much. And now for a little break from speeches, it is my pleasure to introduce to you a joint choir performance by the Armenian Youth Association of California Choir and the Armenian Society of Los Angeles Choir, conducted by Maestro Mikhail Abedisian. 99 տարի անցավ եւ դակավին մեր ժողովուրդը գերքե հայրեն։ Գեցե երջախումբը իրանահայ եւ իրաքահայ միության երջախումբերը։ Գեցե։ Ինչպես նաեւ մայստրո Միքայել Ագրիսյանը։ Mary Rose Abusefian, an acclaimed actress and director, has become one of the representatives in Armenian culture all over the world. She will give her speech in Armenian on behalf of the United Armenian Council, Los Angeles.
My dear Armenians, distinguished guests, for 99 years we presented our genocide by all the languages of the world. But the word genocide has a very different meaning for the Armenians in Armenian. Therefore, I will speak in Armenian. Սիրելի հայրենակիցներս, վստահ եմ, որքան ժամանակ անցնում, ինչպես յուրաքանչյուրի համարել, այնքան ավելի աններելի, անընդունելի է դառնում մեր դեմ գործադրված ամենավայրագ ցեղասպանության տարողությունը, պահանջատիրության հասնելու մեր անկարողությունը եւ այս օրերին նույն ցեղասպանի ձեռքով գաղթական դարձած Սուրյո եւ Քեսապի մեր հայության վիճակը։ Մեր դարավոր երկիր Արևմտահայաստանից, մեր ունեցվածքներից, մեր բազմաշերտ տեղայնությունից զրկված, այս հսկա երկրագնդի բոլոր ծայրերում տարածված եւ պարզապես միայն մեկ անուն, մեկ դիմագից, սփյուռ դարձած ողջ արևմտահայությունս 99 տարիներ շարունակ յուրաքանչյուր օր ապրում ենք այդ ցեղասպանության ազդեցությամբ, որի փայլուն վկայությունն էլ այսօրվա մեր այս հավաքն է։ Այս օտար աշխարհամասում, օտար հողի վրա կանգնեցված այս հուշարձանի առջև մեր միլիոնավոր անմեղ չարաչար խոշտանգումներով սպանված մեր մասնիկների հիշատակի հարգումը, ցեղասպանին եւ ցեղասպանությունը ժխտողներին դատապարտելու արարքը։ Ինչպես 1915-ին, այնպես էր այսօր Թուրքիան վստահ, որ իր թիկունքին կրկին աշխարհն է կանգնած, սանձարձակորեն մասնակցում է Սուրիո պատերազմին, որի հիմնական թիրախը ցեղասպանությունից փրկված հայության այն մասն է, որին չկարողացավ ոչնչացնել։ Եվ հիմա այս խառնակությունը օգտագործում է մեր միակ վկա Քեսապը բռնագրավելու իր կես թողած գործը շարունակելու։ Մենք դեռ սպասում ենք, որ աշխարհը սանձի թուրքերին, այնինչ մեր կառավարությունը արդեն միայնակ աշխարհը պիտի ոտքի հանած լիներ, որ կրկին 15 թիվ է ստեղծել թուրքը, որ կրկին կոտորվում է մեկ անգամ արդեն ցեղասպանություն տեսած իր ժողովուրդը նույն ցեղասպանի թուրքի ձեռքով։ Ես ինքս Եղեռնից փրկված, Տերզորի անապատից կրկնակի քաչությամբ փրկված իմ մեծ մոր Շարավիղն եմ։ 40 տարի ես ականատես եմ եղել իր ամենօրյա արդյունքներին, իր գիշերային մղձավանջներին, դեռ երեխա առանց հասկանալու տխրել եմ իր հետ, լացել եմ իր հետ եւ ինքս ինձ երդվել եմ հատուցում պահանջել իմ պաշտելի մեծ մոր յուրաքանչյուր կաթիլ արդյունքի համար, որը բազում կորուստների ակունքից էր գալիս։ Այսօր որքան էլ իմ մանկական ձգտումը իրականության է բախվում, որ Հզոր Թուրքիով հետ է մեր արերեսուն ու պահանջը միևնույն է, նույնքան անհորդոք ու անզիջում են իմ որոշումը։ Այսօր այս հարյուրամյակի նախաշեմին մենք պատավոր ենք կրկնելու մեր բացթողումները նաև։ Մենք բավական երկար տարիներ կորցրեցինք ու գնալով պատմաբանների միջոցով մեր դեմ կատարված ցեղասպանությունը թուրքերին հաստատելու խաղերին։ 99 տարիներ մեր ցեղասպանության պատճառը մենք վերագրեցինք մեր քրիստոնյա լինելուն, աշխարհին ներկայացրեցինք այդպես, առանց ասելու, որ մենք կոտորվել ենք մեր տարածքների բռնագրավան համար, եւ այսօր աշխարհը մեզ այդպես է ընդունում, այս սխալ տպավորությամբ, որ կարծես մենք ապրել ենք թուրքական հողերի վրա եւ կրոնական տարբերությամբ որպես քրիստոնյայի կոտորվել ենք։ Մեր այս սխալը շարունակում ենք մինչև այսօր խոչընդոտելով մեր պահանջատիրությունը։ Այսօր հայության մեջ տարածված է մի ծույլ կեցված, որ թուրքը դեռ պատրաստ չէ իր անցյալի հետ հաշվի նստելու։ Հանգիստ թութակի պես կրկնում ենք մենք արևմտյան հոգեբանության կատարված ոճիրը կոծկող նրանց շահամոլ քաղաքականության եւ մեր ցեղասպանությունը ոչ ամբողջ ճշմարտությամբ բացահայտող մեր պահանջատիրությունը ցնորք համարով թուրք մտավորականության պարտադրանքով, որը զգույշ լինենք թուրքերի հետ հանկարծ չզայրացնենք նրանց։ Երբենք արթնանալու մեր թրքամետ խնդիրից եւ հայտարարելու մենք կարիք չունենք թուրքերի ոգեվիճակի հետ հաշվի նստելու, սպասելու նրանց պատրաստ լինելու, իրենք պետք է հաշվի նստեն մեզ հետ։ Իրենք պետք է զգույշ լինեն մեր հետ, որովհետև իրենք են մեզ պատ, իսկ մենք պահանջատեր ենք, պահանջատիրոջ պես պահենք մեզ։ Իրենք պետք է մտածեն, թե ինչպես մեղվեն մեր ցավը։ Իրենք պետք է պատասխանեն, թե ինչպես, որ լեզվով մենք աշխարհին ներկայացնենք իրենց գործած անպարագրելի ոճրագործությունը, որ մեղմանա իրենց պատիժը, որ կարողանան իրապես արդարացվել։ Մենք այլևս չենք կարող այսպիսի սխալներով շարունակել։ Մենք այլևս չենք կարող միայն ձգտում երթումներով պահանջատիրության հասնել, ժամանակը մեր դեմ է գործում։ Մենք պետք է որոշակի վճռական քաղաքական ճշգրիտ ծրագրով որպես մեկ միասնական ազգ գործենք։ Եթե ուզում ենք մեր պահանջատիրության հասնել, քաղաքական մտածողության ազգ պիտի դառնանք վերջապես։ 99 տարիների մեր փորձառությունը մեզ սովորեցրեց, որ մենք այլևս չենք կարող, իրավունքը չունենք մեր հույսը դնելու աշխարհի միջամտության վրա եւ սպասել։ Այն աշխարհի, որը մասնակիցը եղավ եւ լռեց մեր ջարդերին, այն աշխարհի, որը այսօր թիկունք է կանգնում թուրքերի սանձարձակ բանունքին, մենք այլևս չենք կարող եւ այն աշխարհի, որից շատերը նույնիսկ մերժում են ընդունելու ցեղասպանությունը դատապարտող օրենքները։ Մենք դատապարտում ենք բոլոր այդ երկրներին։ Մենք դատապարտում ենք մեր ցեղասպանությունը ոչ ամբողջ ճշմարտությամբ բացահայտող, մեր պահանջատիրությունը շղթող թուրք եւ օտար բոլոր մտավորականներին ու պատմաբաններին։ Մենք դատապարտում ենք նաև ամերիկյան կառավարության, որ հետևելով հատվելով թուրքերի ճնշումին, նույնիսկ մերժում են ընդունելու իրենց կողմից իրենց օրենքով հաստատված ազգերի ծրագրված ոչնչացումը դատապարտող բառը ցեղասպանությունը, մերժում է ընդունելու Թուրքիո գործած հանցանքը։ Բայց ամենից ավելի եւ ամենայն խստորեն մենք դատապարտում ենք մեր հայրենի կառավարության, մեր ազգային իրավունքները ոտնահարող Թուրքին սիրաշահող քաղաքականությունը։ Մենք դատապարտում ենք նաև ամերիկյան կառավարության, որ հետևելով հատվելով թուրքերի ճնշումին, նույնիսկ մերժում է ընդունելու իրենց կողմից իրենց օրենքով հաստատված ազգերի ծրագրված ոչնչացումը դատապարտող բառը ցեղասպանությունը մերժում է ընդունելու Թուրքիո գործած հանցանքը։ Բայց ամենից ավելի եւ ամենայն խստորեն մենք դատապարտում ենք մեր հայրենի կառավարության, մեր ազգային իրավունքները ոտնահարող Թուրքին սիրաշահող քաղաքականությունը։ Իր այս քաղաքականությամբ մեր այս կառավարությունը մեր պահանջատիրությունը ետ մղել զայնով, մեր ապագա սերունդների իրավունքով մենք պահանջում ենք մեր երկրի կառավարությունից, մեր երկրի քաղաքական օրինագիծը դարձնի մեր պահանջատիրությունը եւ այն հռչակի ու հաստատի այս 100-ամյակի նախաշեմին։ Մենք պահանջում ենք նաեւ որ մեկնի թողած ներազգային ներքաղաքական բոլոր մանր հաշիվները տեր կանգնի միջին արևելքում ցիրուցան եղող մեր ժողովրդին։ Սիրելի ժողովուրդ, մեր միլիոնավոր զոհերի շարավեղներից անունից այս ծանրակշիռ տարելիցի պատկամը թուրքերին հետևյալն է։ Մենք այն սերունդի շարունակությունն ենք, որի սերն անգամ փորձեցիք ոչնչացնել։ Բայց մենք ամենաթույլ վիճակով կոտորված, արյունակամ, բզիկ ցիրուցան եղած, աշխարհից խաբված, մերժված ու անարգված, միայնակ կարողացանք մեր դատի սկիզբը դնել։ Մեր դատը մեր ձեռքով տեսնել եղերնի պատասխանատուներից։ Այդ վիճակով մենք կարողացանք մեր դարավոր երազանքը իրականացնել, մեր առաջին անկախ պետականությունը ստեղծեցինք, այժմ երկրորդը ունենք։ Սովետական ամենածանր տարիներին մենք կարողացանք մեր հողային պահանջի հիմքը դնել։ Երկրաշարժից կոտորված, աղքատ, անզեն մենք կարողացանք Արցախը ազատագրել։ Այնպես որ թուրքեր, վստահ եւ պատրաստ եղեք, մեր պահանջատիրությունը մենք ենք իրագործելու։ Մեր դատը դեռ չի ավարտվել, մեր դատը նոր է սկսվում։
Շնորհակալություն եղեք։ Professor Bahram Shamasian is a hard-working member of the United Armenian Council's Executive Board. I'd like to invite him to address the message of the UACLA in English. Bahram Shamasian.
Բարև։
distinguished guests, and fellow citizens. It is my privilege and honor to speak to you on behalf of the United Armenian Council of Los Angeles, which is the umbrella organization of some 55 organizations charged with the annual commemoration of the Armenian Genocide in the Southland. Here are some of the main ideas and activities that we subscribe to. We believe in the revival and nurturing of Armenian family trees across the globe and rejoining their roots with those that continue to beckon their blood relatives in the Armenian highlands and valleys that span Turkey today. We believe in the diversification and expansion of venues of communication with Turkish civil society to promote understanding about the genocide and how to rectify this terrible wrong. We believe in the objective examination of the full scope of the phenomenon of Islamized Armenians in their present predicament and their place in the future of the Armenian nation. We believe in lending full support to the Republic of Armenia for it to be able to overcome its myriad domestic difficulties and strengthen its hand in foreign affairs, especially in the pursuit of the recognition and just resolution of the Armenian Genocide. We believe in the exertion of all efforts at preserving Armenian cultural monuments in Turkey and neighboring countries with the full understanding that those edifices are an integral part of world civilization. Any willful destruction, misuse, or negligence, therefore, must be condemned in the strongest terms possible. We believe in the preservation, strengthening, and perpetuation of the Armenian language, considering it as a major victim of the Armenian Genocide, as well as one of the main foundations of Armenian identity. It must also be understood that bilingualism or multilingualism is a scientifically proven asset rather than a liability to an individual's success, and therefore we must take advantage of this fact. Mi varanիկ ձեր զավակներուն եւ թորներուն հետ հայերեն խոսել է, մի վախնակ, բայց մի բարդացրեք, այլ փաստադրեցեք, թե ինչու պետք է խոսին, որովհետև քիդականորեն փաստված է, որ երկլեզվությունը, բազմալեզվությունը օգտակար է անցիմա հաջողության եւ ոչ թե ընդհանրակը։ We believe in the augmentation of the number of Armenian day schools, multiplication of charter schools, and establishment of additional Armenian programs in public schools to usher in a revival of Armenian consciousness as a guarantor of the nation's perpetuity in the foreseeable future and beyond. We believe in the intensification of research in modern Armenian history and related subjects within the larger context of world history, not to prove the veracity of the genocide yet again, but to understand, among numerous other important issues, the inner makings of the human mind with the specific purpose of detecting and, if possible, putting a stop to red signals that may portend future calamities. We believe in confronting and discrediting the denial and deniers of the Armenian Genocide with utmost vigilance. We believe in the condemnation of the application of euphemisms and double standards by governments, organizations, and/or individuals when dealing with the Armenian Genocide, any genocide, for such treatment is tantamount to denial and collaboration. We understand what realpolitik is, but human blood is much, much heavier than oil, gold, or so-called national interest. Last but not least, we believe in taking legal action, both by the Republic of Armenia and Armenian diaspora at international courts, making sure that adjudications are not made under threats, pressure, and/or bribery on the part of Turkey and its instruments. For us, the 99th anniversary of the genocide is as important as the 100th anniversary to be marked next year, and 2016 and beyond will be even more important than the year 2015. It is this continuum with accelerated rigor and resolve that will lead us to the achievement of our ultimate goal, the recognition of the Armenian genocide by Turkey and the return of every single asset that belongs to the Armenian people. Thank you very much.
I'd like to add that in addition to Professor Bahram Shemasian being my fellow executive board member at the UACLA, he's the head of CSUN's Armenian program. And for the record, CSUN, which is California State University Northridge, those who don't know, has the highest number of Armenian university student body. Now I'd like to invite one of our latest stars of our community, Glendale City Mayor, Mr. Zare Sinanian.
Hi everyone. It's been 99 years and we remember and we commemorate. We remember and we commemorate by simply being, by living, by being productive members and loyal members of all those countries that have opened their doors since the genocide and have provided opportunities to an otherwise dispossessed people. But why do we remember and why do we commemorate? Mayor Garcetti was right. None of my 4 children have met my grandfather, Zare Sinanian, who's a genocide survivor who survived the desert, or my other grandfather who was a son of the survivor of the Hamidian massacres. We remember and we commemorate because not only is there justice to be achieved, because not only are we dispossessed of our history, of our heritage, and of 90% of our historical homeland. We remember and we commemorate because there is an unrepentant, remorseless country of Turkey and its junior partner, the Republic of Azerbaijan, both of which, in essence, are continuing the policy of genocide. We remember and we commemorate because Turkey is blockading the Republic of Armenia, that last remnant of our homeland, with the intent of starving and otherwise destroying what's left of the Armenian nation. We remember because to this day, it's okay to shoot down an Armenian journalist on the streets of Istanbul merely because he dared to pronounce the word genocide in Turkey. We remember because today, in the 21st century, an Armenian officer attending NATO exercises in the middle of Europe is killed, is hacked to death, his head is cut off while he's sleeping in his bed. We remember because the Republic of Turkey unleashes several thousand Islamic fundamentalist mercenaries on the last Armenian-speaking, Armenian-populated village of what is Armenian homeland of Kilikia. That's why we remember, because without us remembering, without us commemorating, without us teaching our children, without us taking steps to confront this issue head on, it'll take Turkey, I'm afraid, far too long to come to terms with justice and stop acting in the way that it acted 99 years ago, 120 years ago, and is acting now. So let's stay strong, let's remember, let's commemorate, but most importantly, let's take action. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We're almost done, ladies and gentlemen. A little bit patience. We're almost done. I'd like to also take a minute to recognize the presence of some more of non-speaking dignitaries, and they are Mr. Jim McDonald from Long Beach Police Chief, Mr. Jacques Robinson, Vice Mayor of City of Pasadena, also representing LAUSD's Board Vice President Steve Zimmer, Ms. Vivian Romero, Council Member of City of Montebello. Mr. Anthony Portantino, Board Member of Pasadena Armenian General Memorial Committee. Genocide Memorial, sorry. We also would like to recognize the representatives of the Office of Congresswoman Judy Chu, Linda Sanchez, Senator Carol Liu, City Council Member Mitch O'Farrell, and California Assembly Member Mike Gatto. And now I'd like to invite to the stage Mayor Pro Tem for City of Montebello, Mr. Jack Hajinian.
Good afternoon. I'm Jack Hajinian, Mayor Pro Tem of the City of Montebello. But before that, I'm the proud grandchild of a genocide survivor. For years, I walked this monument with my grandfather, and as we walked, his eyes were filled with tears to remember his past. My grandfather shared with me how he watched his father and his uncle be executed, telling me stories about women drowning themselves in rivers to avoid rape, human burials, and the list goes on. Did my grandfather lie to me? Or is the Turkish government hiding from their past? Yesterday, the Prime Minister, Erdogan, made a statement and he referred to the events as relocation. When I think of relocation, I think of measures that were taken when they built the 60 freeway and they purchased people's homes to move them, to relocate. What happened in 1915 is not relocation. That was one of the worst crimes against humanity. My grandfather fought in the Battle of Sardarabad, and I'm very proud of that too. He inspires me as an elected. I will continue to share the story and fight for justice for the people who suffered. Genocide continues today with the transgenerational trauma we harbor today. And our President, Mr. Obama, continues to perpetuate the cycle with his failed policy. Unfortunately, Kim Kardashian made a more accurate statement about the genocide than President Obama did. And I'm going to leave you with this quick story that I found on Facebook yesterday. And since I mentioned Facebook, if you can, please hashtag Turkey failed Armenian genocide. Tell the story. People need to know. There are so many people today who still do not know about what happened in 1915. And here's a story of Steve Jobs. You know who he is from Apple. If you have an iPhone or an iPad, you have a little bit of Steve Jobs in you. But when I tell you this story, Steve Jobs lives in all of us. Steve Jobs had asked the Turks, you subjected 1.5 million Armenians to genocide? How did it happen? What Turkish tour guide Asil Tuncer said with respect to Apple Incorporated's founder, the late Steve Jobs' visit to Turkey caused great uproar in the country. The guide claimed that Jobs considered the Turks as enemies, and he did not even shake hands when bidding farewell to the tour guide. Tuncer noted that when they had approached the Hagia Sophia in Istanbul, he had told that it was a church at first, but then it was turned into a mosque. Steve Jobs had asked, you Muslims, what did you do to so many Christians? You subjected 1.5 million Armenians to genocide? Tell us, how did it happen? And the Turkish tour guide's denials further infuriated Steve Jobs, who left Turkey one day early. To note, in Steve Jobs' biographical book, it is written that after the Armenian Genocide, his stepmother, Clara Hagopian, had immigrated from Malatya, Turkey. Unfortunately, Steve Jobs passed away. Steve Jobs is my new hero. Goodbye.
I'd like also to mention that present with us is Assemblywoman Cristina Garcia. Եվ այժմ գուզեմ պեմ հրավիրել, որպես վերջին խոսողը մեր հայրենիքի գլխավոր հիվանդոս Հայաստանի Հանրապետության Baron Sergei Sarkisov. I'd like to invite to the podium our General Consul General of the Republic of Armenia, Mr. Sergei Sarkisov.
Dear honored guests, dear Armenians, dear all. To begin with, let me to thank brilliant, really brilliant speakers we had today with us. Thank you very much, all of you. I also would like to thank beautiful lady for your very emotional and very nice speech, and would like to answer to some critics of the Armenian foreign policy, not like a consul general, but as a father of 4 boys. I would prefer diplomats and officials talk better than cannons and artillery. I would prefer bad peace with neighbors than good war with them. Sorry, but we will continue our peaceful foreign policy. You know, a death of one single person is a great tragedy. We have lost more than 1.5 million, and this is the pain that every Armenian is suffering all these years. It is very difficult to live with this kind of pain. My grandfather was the only one survivor of very big and respectful family. But I would prefer to speak about future, not past. You know, many of us participated this morning in the march organized by Unified Young Armenians. And the main message of this march was genocide, never again. Let's speak about future. Even the president and government of the greatest power of the world, the United States of America, cannot change the past. But they really can change the future by recognizing genocide, by recognizing Artsakh. This year, from today, the whole year is the year of centennial genocide. Let's speak not to the Armenians about genocide. Let's send this message to the whole world. Genocide, never again. Crimes against humanity, never again. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of our commemoration event. Please note that on Sunday, April 27 at 6 p.m., there will be the ground blessing ceremony of the Pasadena Genocide Memorial at Memorial Park of the city of Pasadena. Also note that I'm told that all those parked inside the park, they have to move their cars before 4 p.m. if you still need to drive your cars. Excuse me. In conclusion, I'd like to thank all the participants, the committees and organizations of the United Armenian Council of Los Angeles, who worked very hard to accomplish today's event. I would also like to thank all those who supported us morally and financially. And finally, I'd like to thank all of you for being here. As a final message, allow me to share with you what Archbishop Martyrs said last night toward the end of the Requiem for the victims of genocide. It is our duty to remember the genocide, to always talk about the genocide, and demand justice for the genocide.